Girls here. Thanks for coming on today's episode. This week, like every week, I'll be talking about natural living and healthy tips that will get you to rethink how you live and what products or habits you can easily change to better your life. So let's get started. Hey, Urban Wisdom fans, and welcome to this morning's episode. We're going to talk about mirror neurons and how to harness them. So in this podcast, we're going to talk about mirror neurons, what they are, and how they work. Well, Wikipedia describes mirror neurons as this. A mirror neuron is a neuron that fires both when an animal acts and when the animal observes the same action performed by another. Thus, the neuron mirrors the behavior of the other, as though the observer were itself acting. Such neurons have been directly observed in primate species. Birds have been shown to have imitative resonance behaviors, and neurological evidence suggests the presence of some form of mirroring system. In humans' brain activity consists with that of mirror neurons has been found in the premotor cortex, the supplementary motor area, the primary simultaneous sensory cortex, and the inferior parietal cortex. Now, the function of the mirror system in humans is a subject of much speculation. Some researchers in cognitive neuroscience and cognitive psychology consider that this system provides the psychological mechanism for the perception, action, and coupling. They argue that mirror neurons may be important for understanding the action of other people and for learning new skills by imitation. Some researchers speculate that mirror system may stimulate observed action and thus contribute to the theory of mind skill, while others relate mirror neurons to language abilities. And neuroscientists such as Marco, and you guys, I don't want to butcher his last name, it's Iacoboni, have argued that mirror neuron system in the human brain help us understand the action and intentions of other people. In a study published in March 2005, he and his colleagues reported that mirror neurons could discern whether another person who was picking up a cup of tea planned to drink from it or clear it from the table. In addition, he has argued that mirror neurons are the neural basis of the human capacity for emotions such as empathy. So with that basis for what mirror neurons are, what they are capable of, and what scientists think about them, I know there are different opinions regarding mirror neurons, but that's a good thing. It's good to ask questions, discuss different ideas until we find out what is factual and what is merely theory. I find the whole thing fascinating and have used different ways and forms of tapping into this amazing tool we all have inside of us. For instance, if you can think of being empathetic while communicating with another person or group of people. That is, if we are truly trying to understand their thoughts and feelings and allow ourselves to be influenced by their point of view, we are much more likely to trigger mirror neurons and get the same kind of response in return from them. Why? Well, because they're going to be more empathetic to our response, which means they will be more influenced by the way we're thinking. The opposite is, if I'm really trying to persuade someone to my point of view, they're more likely to put up a wall and defend their stand. Or they might say, it's pointless arguing with this person, I'm just going to give in. I have personally witnessed this while serving on jury duty. A juror didn't agree with the argument of the juror in charge, but he was tired of being beaten down. So although he didn't agree with the perspective, he still gave in to stop arguing and end the trial. His decision had nothing to do with evidence or the trial itself, and thus it was a hung jury. It's much more powerful when we can mutually arrive at a destination, and that happens as a result of empathetic thinking. Understand, I don't mean we should use this to influence people's core beliefs so they agree with us. I don't think other people should do that in our direction also. But in the case of the juror, however, if the one in charge would have been more empathetic, one or the other might have seen a different side or point of view, or in the case of a trial, evidence. That would have been beneficial not only to them, but to the rest of us serving as jurors and the trial overall. You see, because of shoving a point down someone's throat, one becomes tired of arguing and the other missed crucial evidence because they took a stand and they weren't going to change no matter what. Now, researchers say that 10% to 20% of the same neurons that trigger when a person does an action also fire when they see someone else do the same kind of action. So action, execution, and observation. Also, when we have a strong interpretation of something in our brain, we are more able to make sense of the other people's actions. A dancer who is watching another will know what turn or jump the performer is about to make without actually seeing the entire move first. However, if a non-dancer is watching, they will need to watch the entire movement before knowing what turn or jump the dancer will make. In short, there's a stronger understanding of other people's action when you know how to do the action yourself. Now, mimicking an action is something dancers do in their mind while watching the other dancer. Now, let's go a step further and ask what happens when someone wants to physically mirror an action when they don't have arms. How do you trigger the neurons that normally perform these actions? Well, studies have shown that humans, when seeing someone reach, will still use the neurons mimicking the person they are watching. But instead of using arms, these individuals will cause movement in their legs and feet, making the point that you take the function of the action in the brain and represent it with your own motor system. It's pretty cool if you think about it. Now, the mirror neuron system is involved in anticipating other people's actions, like the dancer, but another good example are babies. Although we can't run tests on infants the same way we could on animals or adults, scientists have made a net of electrodes called EEG measuring the electric activity in the brain of infants. The results of EEG have shown that babies have the same mirror neurons as adults. Parents observe them all the time when they see their child mimicking them from a very early age. In short, even with infants, mirror neurons are being triggered, even though we can't see any movement through performing, witnessing, or hearing. Actually, we can see those. It looks different in babies, but if you're paying attention, you can. So the question is now, how can we tap into mirror neurons and harness them to benefit our overall health? Well, one way is through positive thinking. You trigger neurons when you tell yourself to do something. Example, by saying to myself every night, I'm excited to get up in the morning, you'll be excited, mirroring your thought into an action. The same as if you say, I hate waking up early. Well, guess what? You're not going to be excited the next morning. Now, speaking something out loud or internally should not be underestimated. You are what you say. That's a fact, not a theory. If you tell yourself over and over something is going to happen, it eventually will. Because you are tricking your brain into believing something, whether positive or negative, by repeating it and mirroring a response that was given by yourself. Also, by doing this repeatedly, you will believe it more and more, making it a reality, first in your mind and then in a physical action. Now, I understand now why my parents made me and my siblings say I can 3 times whenever we said we can't. They knew the power of our words and taught us to think and say only what we want to come true. Certain coaches have their athletes do this. They go through a class or a session just thinking and telling themselves what they want to achieve over and over. These sessions have had profound effects. The athletes that choose to do these sessions are performing at a much higher level than the ones who didn't participate, although their training outside of the sessions is the same. Now, goal-oriented people, use this method of the sitting quietly and imagining what it will take to reach their goals. They also repeat them out loud daily. Not only do these people reach their goals, but they are some of the most successful and influential people on our planet. So what do we tell our kids when they want to be good at something? We say practice and listen to a teacher or observe someone who's really skilled at it in order to learn. So without even realizing it, you just told your kids to go trigger some neurons. It kind of sounds funny when you put it like that, but it's the truth. None of this is new, as most of us already realize that babies learn from watching and kids learn by doing and seeing. However, it's always exciting to know why something is the way it is. And now that you know, you can use mirror neurons for your benefit and in understanding someone else's reaction. And like I said, I don't go out and try to change someone's core opinions, but you can, this will help have a better conversation instead of a fight in some instances also. You see where they're coming from. That doesn't always mean you believe in it, but you can understand from a different point of view instead of going in with I guess your mind just on a stance that you're not willing to budge from, or the other person. So our minds are the most powerful tools we have, you guys, when we choose to tap into them. Remember that as you go out today and make an impact on the world for the better. Until next time, you guys, have a great week. Thanks for listening to today's episode of Urban Wisdom and Natural Living. Tune in next week where I'll broadcast live every Monday morning at 8 a.m. If you miss it live, hold those tears and head on over to my blog, which is heatherearles.com. That's Heather, EARLES.com. There you can have 24/7 access, or right here on iTunes. If you want to follow me on social media, you'll find me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Pinterest. Have a healthy week.